Antarctic ice loss has tripled in a decade. And if that continues, we are in serious trouble. You might have seen articles like this coming out today. Let's break it down. This is total nonsense. The Antarctic ice sheet is melting at a rapidly increasing rate now, pouring 200 billion tons of ice into the ocean every year and rising the sea levels by 0.5 millimeter. The only problem with that is since the late 70s, the monthly Antarctic sea ice extent has been going up exponentially. Let's get back to the article, though. The melt rate has tripled in the past decade. The study concluded. Well, the past decade brings us back here to 2007, where the actual sea extent is going up by over 25%. So there's 25% more ice than ever before in recorded history, but it is melting so fast that we need to fearmonger. Now, this result also reinforces nations have a short window. We have no more than 10 years to cut our greenhouse gases or we're all going to drown. Antarctica is 219 billion tons of ice. Yeah, that is now at the all-time record high volumes that it has been in recorded history. The facts are easy to get. If you look in the wrong place that is controlled by the warmists, you're not going to get the facts. If you do your homework, you get the facts. It says the study is a product of a large group of Antarctic experts who were paid off in order to stay employed. A team of 80 scientists reported Wednesday. Who are these idiots? So they're not talking about facts here. They're talking about something they invented called the melt rate. The melt rate has tripled in the past decade. Keep your eye on the prize. It has nothing to do with the record Antarctic ice extent that has been recorded for the past decade. Record extent. Now, that occurred in 2012 and 2013 where we had record high Antarctic ice. All time ever recorded. But they want you to believe that there's a new term called the melt rate, which has nothing to do with how much ice there is, that is going to drown you and your families. This is organized crime at its finest. Here's another one from the Atlantic. After decades of losing ice. Guys, I just showed you decades of gaining ice. And here we can come to the live data from the National Snow and Ice Data Center at the University of Colorado Boulder. And we can see that the current ice extent is well into the multi-decadal average and standard deviation, which means that both of those articles I showed you are fake news. There is no melt rate increasing because it has nothing to do with reality. If there is an artificial number increasing, it's in their brains. It's in their head. It's a fantasy that they made up. The Antarctic sea ice extent, the area of ocean with 15% of sea ice, is in the normal range, and the thickness is well above normal. How do I know that? Because I have the data. Here's the thickness. Now, back in May, Antarctic ice thickness was at record levels, and I pointed it out on our channel, and the next morning, they had readjusted the data right back to the norm, the mean. Even after readjusting the data by over 1 meter, it has now returned in 5 weeks back to record thickness levels. So according to the Global Cryosphere Watch, today's thickness of Antarctic ice is well above the standard deviation multi-decadal average of sea ice thickness. It is in record Antarctic ice thickness levels. So we have record Antarctic ice, record Antarctic ice extent, and they want to tell you that after decades of losing ice, the Antarctic is hemorrhaging it. Fake news. Here's the fake news article that got published. Fake. Here is the facts. From 1980 to present, Arctic ice extent has been increasing to record levels. Why would sea level rise for global warming and polar ice melt? It wouldn't. 1 to 2 meters of sea level rise by 2100 is a highly erroneous claim. Here are the flat facts. In conclusion, global warming, both polar and terrestrial ice melts, and climate change might be happening, kids. We know that climate changes cyclically, and we're headed into a cooling period called the grand solar minimum. But the reality is that these phenomena are not related to sea level rise and fall. No matter what NASA or NOAA wants to tell you, or what the Atlantic or any of these other fear-mongering rags want to lie to you about, the geophysical shape of the Earth is the fundamental component of sea level fluctuation and distribution. Global warming and ice melt is not. Gravitational attraction of the Earth plays a dominant role in sea level rise and fall. We see it every day. It's called the tidal cycle. And the claim that predictions of 3 millimeter rise per year of sea level due to global warming and polar ice melt is definitively a conjecture. It's not true. If you know about thermodynamics and physics, you know that the only way you can get a rise in this volume of sea level, the amount of ocean water we have on the planet, is through thermal expansion, which has a lag time between temperature rising on the planet and temperature rising in the oceans. So any global warming that would be happening that you're experiencing wouldn't affect the sea level for hundreds of years based on thermodynamics. And predictions of 4 to 6 feet or 1 to 2 meters of sea level rise in the next 100 years is absolutely fake news based on zero fact. If you want to check the sources, come in here. These are all reputable scientists with information. Here's the actual sea ice thickness after they lied to you and changed the data over a meter after we published that report that day. Antarctic sea ice has returned to record thicknesses, which the articles are claiming is what's not happening. Here are the facts. And check out what's happening in the southern hemisphere now. After Baum predicted the hottest winter ever, they are off by a factor of 1 million. Australia could see the coldest cold snap for 2 years this weekend, and it had been breaking record cold temperatures for the last month. Those are the facts. The facts are that the warmists are losing. Those that still believe the hype are not following the facts. And we're talking about the flawed climate models, of which have been off by over 500% since the beginning of the global warming scare. If you want to know the facts, I hope you read the introduction to Climate Change, the Facts 2017, because the author, Jennifer Murrow-Hassey, will be joining us tonight to discuss Climate Change, the Facts, where you will learn about the truth about climate science and how their models are flawed, and how the fear-mongering nonsense that the masses are sucking up is really adding insult to injury and destroying what we know as science on the planet. And it is quite unfortunate what's going on. Guys, I hope you got something out of the video. Times are changing. Share this with people who need to know the facts. And join us tonight, 10 p.m. East Coast time on freedomslips.com Revolution Radio with our guest Jennifer Murrow-Hassey as she joins us to talk about Climate Change, the Facts 2017, her book. Be safe, everybody. And that's a boom.